He's twice my age? I can't believe what I found. Mark and I were comfortable. 3 years comfortable. The kind of comfortable where Saturday nights meant takeout and Netflix, and our biggest arguments revolved around whose turn it was to empty the dishwasher. He was a good guy, dependable, and loved me. I knew he did. But sometimes, late at night when he was snoring softly beside me, I wondered if good was enough. Then came the job offer at Sterling Corp, a Fortune 500 company downtown. A real job, with a real salary, not the internships and part-time gigs I'd been cobbling together since graduation. Mark was thrilled for me, genuinely so. He even bought me a new briefcase to celebrate. It was practical, sensible, just like him. My first day was a blur of introductions, HR paperwork, and trying to remember everyone's names. The office was sleek and modern, all glass and steel, buzzing with an energy that both excited and intimidated me. I was assigned to the marketing department, a small team of bright, ambitious people, all vying for the same promotions. That afternoon, I was summoned to the CEO's office, Richard Sterling. The name alone carried weight. I nervously straightened my skirt and smoothed my hair before knocking on the heavy oak door. He was exactly as I'd imagined. Tall, silver-haired with a commanding presence. But his eyes? They were unexpectedly warm. Almost knowing. He rose from behind his enormous desk, extending a hand. Chloe, welcome to Sterling Corp. I've been looking forward to meeting you. His grip was firm, reassuring. Have a seat. He spent the next half hour asking me about my background, my aspirations, everything. He listened intently, making me feel like I was the only person in the world. It was flattering, intoxicating even. I left his office feeling like I just stepped into a movie, my life suddenly imbued with possibility. Richard made a point of seeking me out in the following weeks. He'd stop by my desk to chat, invite me to join him for lunch in the executive dining room, even ask for my opinion on marketing strategies. It was clear he saw something in me, something that my colleagues didn't. One day, he gifted me a designer handbag, a ridiculously expensive one. I was stunned. It's just a small token of appreciation for your hard work, Chloe, he said, his eyes twinkling. I stammered my thanks, feeling a mix of excitement and unease. I knew it was inappropriate, that it crossed a line, but I couldn't deny the thrill of it. I told Sarah, my best friend, everything. She was less than impressed. Chloe, are you serious? He's the CEO. This is a major red flag. He's probably done this 1,000,000 times before. But he's been so supportive, I protested. He's mentoring me, helping me advance my career. Mentioning? Please. He's grooming you. Wake up before you get hurt. I tried to dismiss Sarah's concerns as jealousy, but her words lingered in my mind. Richard began inviting me to dinners after work, ostensibly to discuss business, but the conversations often veered into more personal territory. He told me about his difficult marriage, his demanding career, his loneliness. I found myself sympathizing with him, even feeling attracted to him. He was so different from Mark, so worldly, so powerful. I started pulling away from Mark. I made excuses for why I couldn't go out on weekends, why I was working late. He noticed, of course. Everything okay, Chloe? He asked one night, his voice laced with concern. You seem distant. I'm just stressed with work, I said, avoiding his gaze. It's nothing. It was a lie, and we both knew it. One evening, after a particularly intense dinner, Richard walked me back to my apartment. As I fumbled with my keys, he gently turned me around and kissed me. It was a soft, tentative kiss at first, but it quickly deepened. I was flooded with guilt, shame, and a confusing rush of adrenaline. I pulled away. Richard, I can't do this, I said, my voice trembling. I have a boyfriend. I know, he said softly. But you deserve more, Chloe. You deserve someone who appreciates your intelligence, your ambition. Someone who can give you everything you want. He left me standing there, breathless and torn. I tried to end things with Richard, but he wouldn't let me. He threatened to ruin my career, to make sure I never worked in this city again. He reminded me of all the things he'd done for me, all the opportunities he'd given me. I felt trapped, powerless. One night, I had to go back to his office to retrieve a document he'd asked me to review. The office was dark, and I was alone. As I was leaving, something caught my eye. A framed photograph on his desk, tucked away in a corner. I picked it up. It was a picture of a young woman, maybe 22 or 23, with long brown hair and bright, eager eyes. She looked familiar, almost eerily so. The photo was old, faded, but something about her face sent a chill down my spine. I rummaged through his desk, searching for clues. I found a hidden file on his computer, password protected. After several failed attempts, I managed to crack the code. Inside were dozens of encrypted messages detailing suspicious financial transactions and references to projects involving young female employees. There were veiled threats, promises of advancement, and disturbing allusions to, well, I didn't even want to think about it. The woman in the photograph, I realized with a sickening certainty that she had been one of his projects. And something told me that she hadn't fared well. I spent the next few days piecing together the puzzle. I discovered that Richard had a pattern, a long history of targeting young, vulnerable women, manipulating them, and then discarding them when he was finished. He'd ruin their careers, their reputations, sometimes even their lives. Emily, Richard's assistant, had been trying to warn me all along. One afternoon, I approached her, clutching the photo I had found. "Emily, do you know who this is?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Her eyes widened. "Oh dear. You found it, didn't you?" She sighed, a look of weary resignation on her face. Her name was Lisa. She worked here about 10 years ago. She was very talented, very ambitious, just like you. What happened to her? Emily looked away, her voice barely audible. She left. Suddenly. There were rumors, but no one ever really knew the truth. I knew the truth. I decided I couldn't stay silent. I couldn't let him do this to anyone else. I confronted Richard in his office. I laid out all the evidence I had gathered, the photograph, the encrypted messages, Emily's testimony. He initially denied everything, calling me hysterical, delusional. But as I presented more and more evidence, his facade crumbled. His eyes hardened, and his voice turned cold, menacing. "You little bitch," he hissed. "You think you can take me down? I'll destroy you. I'll make sure you never work again." I secretly recorded the entire conversation. With Sarah's help, I anonymously leaked the information and the recording to the authorities and the press. The story exploded. Richard Sterling, the respected CEO, was exposed as a predator and a criminal. The company's board launched an investigation. Richard was placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the inquiry. The police were involved, and there were whispers of potential criminal charges. I was interviewed by the authorities and the press. I faced intense scrutiny, judgment, and even threats. But I also received support from some unexpected sources, including David, a coworker who had always been kind and helpful. Mark found out, of course. He was devastated, heartbroken. He couldn't believe I had betrayed him, that I had been so naive, so foolish. "How could you, Chloe?" he asked, his voice choked with emotion. "How could you do this to us?" I didn't have an answer. I knew I had hurt him deeply, irreparably. We broke up. It was painful, but I knew it was the right thing to do. Our relationship had been built on a foundation of naivety and complacency. We were fundamentally different people, wanting different things from life. Richard was eventually arrested and charged with multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and sexual harassment. His career was ruined. His reputation shattered. I resigned from my job at Sterling Corp. I couldn't stay there, not after everything that had happened. It was too tainted, too toxic. I spent months rebuilding my life, piece by piece. I went to therapy, reconnected with old friends, and started pursuing my passions. I even started volunteering at a local women's shelter, helping other victims of abuse and exploitation. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt overwhelmed, consumed by guilt and regret. But I also felt a newfound sense of strength and resilience. I had survived. I had exposed the truth, and I had learned a valuable lesson about power, manipulation, and the importance of standing up for what is right. One evening, I was walking home from the shelter when I saw a familiar face. It was Emily, Richard's former assistant. "Chloe," she said, her voice soft. "I just wanted to thank you. For everything. You did what no one else had the courage to do." "It wasn't just me, Emily," I said. "We did it together." She smiled, a sad, weary smile. "He hurt a lot of people, Chloe, more than you know." "I know," I said. "But he won't hurt anyone else." I eventually found a new job, working for a small, socially conscious marketing firm. The work was challenging and rewarding, and I felt valued and respected. I never saw Richard again. I heard that he was eventually convicted and sentenced to several years in prison. I didn't feel any satisfaction, only a deep sense of sadness. Life went on. I learned to trust my instincts, to be wary of those who wield power, and to never underestimate the strength of my own voice. Years later, I was sitting in my office reviewing a new marketing campaign when I received an email from an unknown sender. The subject line read, "Lisa." My heart skipped a beat. I opened the email. It contained a single photograph. It was the same picture I had found in Richard's office. The one of the young woman with the long brown hair and bright, sour, eager eyes. Attached to the photo was a short message. "Thank you. You gave me my voice back." I stared at the photograph, tears welling up in my eyes. I knew then that I had done the right thing. That even though the experience had been painful and traumatic, it had ultimately made me stronger, more resilient, and more determined to fight for justice. The comfortable life I once knew was gone, replaced by something harder, more complex, but ultimately more real. I looked out the window at the city skyline, the lights twinkling like stars in the night. I took a deep breath and smiled. My life was just beginning, and I was ready to face whatever came next.